Hello and welcome to Nikolai's genetics lessons. Today I'm going to talk about population genetics, and in this video I'm going to talk about genetic drift, natural selection and founder principle. As usual, I recommend you to stop video here, read the questions, answers, choose the correct answer, and when you would be ready you can run video again and you can compare your answers with my answers and explanations. And here's the first question: the fact that South and Central American Indians are nearly 100% type O for the ABO blood system is best explained as being the result of, and here's the three answers to choose from, and let's talk about each possible answer in turn. So answer A, genetic drift. Genetic drift is situation when we have migration. And one of the best examples would be history of the United States. Imagine that before Europeans came here, only Indians lived here, and they had a stable genetic pool. But Europeans came, and from the genetic point of view, they brought here new alleles. So allelic pool here changed. Then Europeans brought blacks from Africa, and once again genetic pool have changed because people start randomly mating and genetic pool start to change. Then there was new waves of migration from Asia, so now we call United States as melting pot of cultures, but we also can say melting pot of genotypes. So this is what the genetic drift is. And answer B, natural selection. Natural selection, one of the examples would be, imagine that there is one species of bugs, but there is variation in their coloring. So some of the bugs can be darker, some of them can be lighter, and for example, the community is stable, but due to changes in environment like weather conditions, wind, or magnetic field, for example, birds, migrating birds changed their normal route that they used before, and now they stop in this area. And for these birds would be much easier to spot dark colored bugs on the light colored bark. So imagine that after these birds would leave, only light colored bugs would be left and they would reproduce. So this would be natural selection, and probably for the following generation you would be able to find only light colored bugs here. So this is example of natural selection. And answer C, the founder principle, would be when very few representative of some community would come to new area. This can be for many different reasons. This can be pressure from environment that lead animals to move to new area, or this can be some disaster, and some animals can be, for example, washed away by the flood, and they would establish a new community in the area they never been seen before, and they should be isolated, so no genetic drift should be with other communities. The best example would be for example, mainland and some isolated island. On the mainland we have one species with diverse genetic pool, but imagine that just couple animals move to the island, and randomly this can be only representative of the alleles with yellow color here, and they would reproduce on the island, and as you see, some of the diversity, original diversity, would be lost. So this would be founder principle. And one of the examples would be all the animals, plants, and birds that can be found, for example, on the Hawaiian Islands. All of them were established here due to founder principle. So now you are ready to answer this question. Once again, answer A, genetic drift. Could it cause that only blood type O can be found in the indigenous people of the Central and South America? And this is not true because, as you see, genetic drift usually adds new alleles to the gene pool. So we can cross out this answer. And answer B, natural selection. And once again, natural selection can work on the phenotypic differences between animals or plants or people, and ABO blood group system doesn't provide any specific differences between people. For example, you cannot mate depending on the ABO blood group system because you cannot tell it phenotypically whether this person belongs to this blood group or another blood group. So we can cross out this answer also, and we left with only answer C, the founder principle. And this is what might happen on this picture. People from the Asia migrated to North America, then moved to the Central and South America. And we can suggest that there were very few people who established this new population, and the variation in ABO blood group were limited to only one blood group O. That's why we can find that almost 100% of the Indians of the Central America and South America belong to the blood group O. So our choice is answer C. The other possible answer could be bottleneck effect, but we don't have such an answer here, so we choose answer C. And next question, which of the following is true of genetic bottlenecks? Answer A, they occur when there are major environmental changes that alter natural selection so that most members of species die before reproducing. Answer B, the result is usually increasing genetic diversity in population following a genetic bottleneck. And answer C, they reduce the fertility of the survivors. So what is a bottleneck? Bottleneck is very similar to this picture that I show here as explanation of the founder principle. So we may find original population that is diverse and has many alleles, just like on the picture above. But what the difference would be that on the first picture we have migration from one place to another place, and on the second picture there is no migration, but due to some environmental disasters, for example, this could be a fire, flood, or some disease, only few animals would be left, or it could be plants, and these plants that survive or animals would establish a new community. But this is going to be at the same place, so no migration is taking place here. So here we have original population left and few representative left to establish new community with new allelic frequencies in such community. But here we have different picture. Original community wouldn't exist anymore, and in place of this community, but the genetic variation would be greatly reduced, or we also can say allelic variation. So let's now analyze all the answers. So answer C, they reduce the fertility of the survivors. So let's consider this answer would be fertility of the survivors reduced. And this is true because here we would have very few initial animals or plants that would establish a new population, and that means that this population would be highly inbreed, and inbreeding lead to reduced fertility. But let's consider other answers before we make a choice. Answer B. The result is usually increased genetic diversity in population following a genetic bottleneck. So, can we expect that after the bottleneck we would find increased genetic diversity? And this is, as you see, according to this picture, is not true. Of course, after a certain time, after many generations, there would be accumulation of different mutations, and due to such mutations, new alleles would arise, and we would be able to find new alleles in such community. And this is not what we can expect right after bottleneck. So we can cross out this answer. And next answer, answer A, they occur when there are major environmental changes that alter natural selection so that most members of a species die before reproducing. And this is exactly what we see on this picture. As I said, this can be environmental changes, and diseases also would be considered environmental influences, and this may lead that very few representative of the initial community can be left that would establish a new population. Even if many animals would survive but wouldn't be able to live long enough until they would be able to reproduce, we also would consider them that they didn't go through this bottleneck, because from the point of view of evolution it is important not just survive but be able also to reproduce. So survive and reproduce. So as you see, now we can choose between two answers, answer A and answer C. We can choose answer A, and answer C we can cross out, but you also have to remember that usually after such bottlenecks, many communities wouldn't be able to establish new population because of the lack of diversity. And usually, if just very few animals left, such communities would decline and extinct. So we can cross out this answer today. And this is all for today. Thank you for your attention. Please subscribe for my new videos that I post almost every day. Thumbs up if you like this video. Please write your comments, questions if you have any, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.